And just like that, we are back. The Cowboys Collective, episode 11. This is crazy. We're already 11 episodes in, y'all.
11.
12,
I'm
12.
about to say that feel wrong, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I
can't get it
feel
right.
wrong.
You know what? Okay, this we're gonna do, AOC. Law is keeping track of the episodes from here on out. 'Cause I didn't botch it a few times. Guys, how we doing today, man?
Well,
Yeah.
I want to hear from the man in the space shuttle first. How are you doing, brother? How's
Yeah, how did you get there, Law? Like, what do you literally have 10 locations. Like, this man he's in a house, he's in a. How are you there, Law?
man,
What
I'm
is Law
doing
doing?
great, man. All is well. Can't complain, man. I see that we got some good information for the nation
yes,
by John
sir.
Minnesota. I can't wait to go over all of that. And let's go. Episode 12 is going to be a good one.
Yes, sir.
Episode 12 is going to be a good one. Guys, what is going on? We will start the normal way we do, but then we are going to get to all questions, all this is for you all. This is our way of saying thank you to you. So we're going to get to all questions via the chat. But first, John Machota, what's going on at the Star?
Yeah, we had availability today with all the assistants and the coordinators, so that was cool. First time being around a lot of these guys, and so it's one of those things where you wish that it would be several hours so you could get to talk to multiple people for a long time. But they bring out 3-4 people at a time, so really you're kind of coordinating with other people that you know in the business to be like, hey, I'll be over at this one. Let me get the audio from that one later, type thing like that. So for me, at the top of my list was talking to Eberflus, trying to find out, kind of a direction for this defense. But even with that, I will say it's one of those things where you can just tell that the coaches are pretty guarded about what they're going to say. Obviously, there hasn't been free agency, there hasn't been a draft, and so they're not going to talk really about individual players. So to me, it was Eberflus, Clayton Adams, and some other guys like that to me. So just with Eberflus, I'd say, he's not a guy that he's not really going to be like Dan Quinn. He's not like, Dan Quinn has a little bit of a almost like he's going to kind of talk with like a little bit of swagger with that. Matt Eberflus is way more down the middle, not really going to say too much to really ruffle any feathers. But when you talk about the defense specifically, what he's looking for, the first two things he points out is stopping the run and taking the ball away. And for a lot of coaches, they say that, and you're like, well, yeah, that's what everybody wants to do. But I mean, you just look at his track record, whether it be the Chicago defenses and then those ones in Indianapolis. And then also he was a big part of the last Cowboys defense in 2016 that led the NFL in run defense. So there's that. And then you just look at how he's been. His teams take the ball away. So it's like when he says that stuff, that's good to hear. He did say at one point that he thinks that the Cowboys have the top 2 corners in the league with Bland and Diggs. And I thought that was pretty bold. And then
news to him. Diggs ain't gonna be there.
He kept talking. Then he said for sure top 5, both of them. So yeah, it seemed like that was pretty high praise there. But a lot of the stuff he said about Micah is a lot of stuff that we've heard. I mean, this is the 3rd different defensive coordinator that Micah's had. It's all about we're going to move him around. We're going to find best way for him to get the passer. That's his greatest strength. We have to put him in that position because everything else builds off of that. The defensive coaches obviously all talked highly of Osa. They would like for him to be back, but that's not their decision. That comes down to the front office having to sign him. The one thing that Eberflus talked about that I thought was interesting is the fact that he was here previously and had a chance to work with Will McClay previously. So it's nice that they have that relationship because obviously Will is going to, be the one that's, in charge of a lot of the personnel stuff that's going to happen. So they seem like they're on the same page. In terms of on the offensive side, it's pretty much everything that we thought. They're gonna try and run the football. That's why you bring in a guy like Clayton, that he's an offensive line type guy, focus on the run game and build off of that. And so the one tweet I did put off of the Clayton Adams interview is basically I just thought it was interesting how he talked about, kind of his philosophy on what he's trying to do. And he said that basically what we're doing, our job is to be problem solvers. We're trying to figure out what we do good and how we make that look multiple, like how they make everything look different, because that's the part he's looking into focusing is just basically how to change things up, do different things, even though you might be trying to do the same thing to try and disguise it, maybe a little bit more modernizing of the offense, things like that. So, I mean, everything you hear sounds good. It just that the last thing I'll say on this is that there's just so many coaches that aren't right from someone else's tree for you to connect dots. So it leaves a lot of questions because they're not all guys that Schottenheimer's known, which he could have. He's been coaching for 25 years in the league, but he did a lot of due diligence about finding some college guys, some pro guys he hadn't worked before with, things like that. So everything today sounded good, but I don't think that definitively still, and you won't probably. The things that will be most telling, I think, in the next month or so will be what they do in free agency and the draft, because it'll show you the direction, where they're spending money in free agency, where they're looking to draft high in the, with their first few rounds. That will tell us more than anything that we'll hear today or in the next few weeks.
Ooh, yeah, I think that's a lot to digest, and I thought that every coach, for the most part, actually, every interview that I got to Eberflus, they sounded really well spoken. The thing I took from Eberflus was discipline and fundamentals. He leaned in on that a lot, John. And he wasn't breaking news with how he wanted to play Mike. And I even saw Micah retweeted the fact that, hey, he's a pass rusher. We're gonna let him rush the passer. We're not gonna try to flirt with playing him in coverage and off ball. And you heard a lot of that last offseason. Hey, Micah's a pass rusher. He's gonna go rush the passer. So I thought that part was interesting. I did think it was interesting about the Diggs and Bland stuff, because maybe they may know something about Diggs' injury that we don't. I think we're all projecting. I'm projecting that Diggs won't start the season, but I could be wrong. But that's one deal. But Law, AOC, how did you guys feel about the interviews and the coaches before we get to?
Well, we got a question from somebody in the chat. She said, "Would you pay Osa or let him walk?" That kind of coincides along with John was just talking about, as far as some of the coaches really being fans of Osa Odighizuwa. I think it depends on what your approach is going to be this offseason. If you're really trying to build something and try to supplement this team to really help these coaches get what they need to build a competitive roster, I just think Osa Odighizuwa might end up being a little bit too expensive when you can probably get two players that are good contributing players for the cost it's going to take to keep an Osa around. I don't know. I would like Osa, but not at the $21-22 million per year range.
I agree with that completely. I think he's a good player, but I don't know about at that dollar amount. But again, that's going to be one of those moves that's going to be very telling, because if they pay him that just shows you, for a Cowboys team that generally hasn't paid much to defensive tackle, that Osa is clearly the best thing out there, and there's nothing else they see that's even close to it. But if they don't, and they go in a direction where, like you said, they go two guys, maybe they split that money up, that shows you that they're like, yeah, we really like him a lot, but we don't like him at that price. And that's what I think could happen. I think he could get priced out of what they're looking to spend. And so I'm fascinated there, just because it's been a long time since they've been good at defensive tackle. So
No doubt.
Hey, no, I don't want to move on from that. AOC, you said he may get priced out. What D tackles are on this roster, guys?
Well, you got Mozzie, and then you have basically Justin Rogers that they brought back, and that's we are razor blade thin at DT. So even with Osa, we razor blade thin, because you're talking about a 3-tech, and I don't think that we even have another 3-tech. Do we, John or AOC?
not any.
No.
Yeah. So that's another need in this draft, and we got a super chat from Brandy too, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that, but I wanted to make so we can take our time with these questions, because we'll get to Brandy for sure, and we'll get to a few more of these questions. And you guys, make sure you guys send the questions. These are for y'all. This whole show is dedicated to the fans, and we want to hit these questions. Now, Law, you just said that we that's another need in the draft, but turning this new leaf that I think the Cowboys have to turn, we're not going to be able to hit every need that this team has in the draft. And not only that, thinking that we're going to get young players to come in and give us quality reps, that's going to be tough, fellas. I
think that we're all looking at the wrong place for some of these things, because there's an underrated part of the free agency process that I think Steven is going to be playing around in like a brand new kiddie pool. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to be the post June 1st cut period. And because there's a lot of very good players that are probably going to be candidates to be cuts from their teams. The Falcons, for example, they have 2 defensive tackles that are probably going to be cut candidates post June 1st, because they're going to be able to save a good amount of money. And I believe the Falcons are like $11 million in the red. So Grady Jarrett And
Didn't know that.
And there's another guy, I want to say Oyanyama or something like this. Grady Jarrett and another guy, both starting defensive tackles, had a large percentage of the starting snap share this season. Grady Jarrett was probably the better one out of the two this season, and he played both. He honestly played both, some 3-tech and some 1-tech for the Falcons this season. So, I mean, I think he would be a fit for Matt Eberflus's defense personally.
No
So there's
doubt.
15 defensive tackles that make 18 million a year or more. So I'm thinking that he's going to slot in somewhere in that 18 to 22. And so right now 18 per season is Jonathan Allen. And then it just, I mean, so you're talking about the best of the best guys. So if you value him or they value him like that, I'm just saying from what I've seen, if they were to do a deal with him, it's because they think he's got a lot more.
Right.
I don't see them doing 2022 getting what they've gotten. It would have to be that the coaching staff is like, no, he's just scratching the surface. Right. He hasn't even hit what we think he can be as a pass rusher, all this other stuff. If that's the case, I can be talked into 2022 if you get the right people around me. I mean, but if it's going to be more of the same type thing, I just don't see the value.
Hey, Quinnen Williams didn't become an all-pro until Aaron Whitecotton got his hands on him.
Ooh, that's a heater. That's a heater.
That is a good. That's a good point. But just like you lamented the fact, John, that Parsons had 3 different coordinators in his time frame. So has my guy Osa. So we got to make sure that we bring in the right guy that can help him out if we're going to pay that $22 million for him or whatever his asking price may be. And on top of that, when you look at everything, my thoughts on what Coach said as far as the DBs, regardless of whether he got inside information or not, bone to bone, it's going to take time for Trayvon Diggs. You know, you can't say, well, hey, you can't be a little bit pregnant. You're pregnant or not. So I just look at it from that aspect. And I think that with Trayvon Diggs, it's going to be a situation, a scenario that's going to beat some time for him to get back out there on the field.
I agree, Law. So this is what I would say to the Osa thing. If he's priced out, yes, but I would probably try to do everything I can to pay him. Here's why. I think that we saw Osa last year get better as the year went on. I know years previous, it's kind of he wore down. He was little, this, that, and the third. And I think that was I think Jeff Skazina was a great add to the D line room. I think Aaron, what's his last name? AOC, I always struggle with his last name.
Whitecotton.
Come on with it, man.
Black.
My bad.
Oh boy. At the end of the day, man.
I think coaching matters, fellas. I think coaching
it does. But at the end of the day, you got Patriots, you got Raiders, you got the Commanders, you got the Cards, you got Chargers that could all outbid for Osa if they fall in love with what he can do and what he can bring to the table. Because Patriots got $119 million to spend, Raiders 92, as well as the Commanders 75, and they know him. And are the relationships with those Bama boys cool with Dan Quinn over there?
Well, I'm hearing that Jonathan Allen will be. I don't think he'll be on the Commanders next year. I'm hearing that he'll be a June 1st release. So that goes back to one. That's kind of what AOC was talking about. I just think we'll have to let it play out, but I mean that's one for sure that when you think about it, it can make sense. Okay. Yeah. Here's a super. Every time a player is supposed to get paid, here comes trade rumors. Are we referring to Micah in this situation?
I feel attacked.
Well, if you feel attacked, AOC, why don't you lead the way? Is there here's the thing. Actually, AOC, you have the floor.
Man, look, I think that this is the time of the year where teams are looking to try to move money around. And I think with that, you're going to have all these different ideas getting thrown at the wall. And those people that's in the room with the people that have the ideas being thrown at the wall are going to be talking to people like John and leaking different things out. And so you get these different reports and rumors that kind of start circulating. And sometimes it might not even be, we're seriously considering trading Micah. It might literally be like, okay, we had a conversation about at what point do we stop paying our top players and that kind of thing, right? So I think that's what it is. And a lot of different outlets just kind of run with it. And kind of sensationalized a little bit for the purpose of getting revenue. Everybody got to keep putting food on the table now. Like, don't be naive.
I'm not worried about trading because the Cowboys normally don't trade. Yeah, I mean, what Ryan Switzer and maybe Amari Cooper. That's it. The Cowboys really don't trade players. So if anything, you can hear some leaks of sullying or and muddying the waters with Parsons. But outside of that, I think Parsons would be a guy that the Cowboys would continue to figure out ways to get
He
paid.
gonna get paid.
And they've said that. So, I mean, I can't sit here and tell you that I know every single person that every reporter's talking to, but you can also take things where if someone said to you, well, yeah, if someone's going to give us 5 ones or something like that, yeah, anybody's tradable or whatever like that. But it's like within
right.
reason. Right. I mean, what is someone giving you where you would really trade a Micah Parsons? And I just, judging by how I've seen the Cowboys do business for a couple decades, I just don't see how that's even in the realm of a possibility for them to do something like that. But when I read that question, one of the things I thought of though too was just for some reason, and maybe just because it ties in with the last topic as well, it's the whole going back with Osa. Just like if you're a Cowboys fan and they let Osa go sign somewhere else, and they really don't do much at defensive tackle, you have every right to be pissed because they don't do anything in free agency, and they talk about how they draft and develop and sign their own. Well, here you go. Here's one of your own to re-sign. So if they don't do anything to combat that, you have every right as a fan to be pissed off at them about that. They should do something. So that's what I'm saying. Like if they decide, hey, we're not going to sign Osa because we would rather spread the money between a couple other defensive tackles because we have more than just one hole there. Hey, I'm absolutely, I'm all for that. It's they let Osa go, and then it's like 1 year deal, $3 million to this guy, and then 1 year deal, $5 million to this guy.
Man.
Yeah. Like, it is crazy. Hey,
no.
John, I got this right here. I look at that, the Cowboys' philosophy. They do two things. They wait too late to pay a player, right? It would have been
stars. Because
Stars.
that one bothers me a little bit when people say that because they act like every player has that leverage. That is not true. That is not true. I can tell you this right now. You think Osa Odighizuwa is just like, yeah, guys, well, when you call me, whatever, it ain't like that. Like, yeah, you can do that if you're CD and you're Zeke and you're Dak and you're Micah and stuff like that. These other guys like that, like they're not getting to do stuff like that. And they have gotten some stuff done with guys. The problem is that it hasn't worked out. It didn't work out with Jalen Smith. It didn't work out with La'el Collins. It didn't work out with Michael Gallup. Really doesn't look like it's working out with the move to sign Terrence Steele early. So that's the only thing. I have a little bit of pushback on it because there are very few guys that have that leverage to drag it out like that. Because most of the time, this team is going to be like, yeah, no, go check out somewhere else. See if they'll offer you that. They're not really. So for the superstars, yes, they do wait too long. No question.
They wait too long. And the other flip side, what they tend to do is this right here, John, is that they will allow that player to test the market. And if they go get picked up by the free agency, they leaned on the comp pick.
Right.
Is that a like a philosophy of the Joneses? Because they definitely don't trade players.
Yeah, I mean, I think and especially with those comp picks, they're big on that. That's like a big part of their deal. They love being able to get those. But the problem is though is that while those comp picks are great, you also got to keep some of your guys. You got to keep some of these guys that you think like, for example, like a Jordan Lewis or some of these guys that are a little bit more signable. That you're like, yeah, you should be able to get something done with them, as opposed to being like, yeah, well, if he signs somewhere else and whatever, we'll get like a 5th round comp or whatever like that. Like I don't know that it's worth it doing that all the time. You got to bring back some of these guys.
Yeah.
Steve go give them all coupon books when they sign.
All right, here we go. If the Dallas Cowboys lose Osa, this is from Preston Taylor. Great question, Preston. If the Dallas Cowboys
whole
lose
government
Osa,
on there, don't you, boy?
If the Cowboys lose,
let me get your social, Preston.
If the Cowboys lose Osa, what do y'all think about Deion Walker, 345 pounds? Jason Jones, 6'6", 355. So you want a big D tackle. Kenneth Grant, 339. And Preston, I'm gonna just hide this comment for a second so we're not blocking the law. But that's a good question. So for me, I'm just not into depending on a rookie D tackle anymore. Love Deion Walker. He struggles with leverage. I was at the Senior Bowl. He is not a player. A lot like Jordan Davis early on in his career that can play every down. And even being a run stuffing one, you would need depth. And I like Kenneth Grant. I actually have Kenneth Grant rated a little bit higher than a lot higher than Deion Walker. And even him, that's a position that I think you have to have solid vets on the team for. I think Dallas made a huge mistake with the way that they planned for Mozzie or lack thereof, what they asked him to do. You got to remember, Dan Quinn asked, I'll never forget this press conference, John. He has pass rush ability. You had a bigger guy who at Michigan was a two-gapper. This is what he did, John. He played gaps. He played at the line of scrimmage. And I'll never forget Dan Quinn asking him to try to rush the passer. And some of that stuff to me was just like, well, when he comes to the league, let's do what he does well first. And then we could try to develop some of that other stuff. And so what ended up happening was Mozzie did get lost in the shuffle. Some of it was the playing with his weight and fluctuating. Mozzie played, I think he's a better player at a heavier weight. Now, we did see glimpses this year, but it needs to be more consistent. I don't want to depend on another rookie to come in here and try to be an anchor. And then not to mention, Eberflus's scheme doesn't call for a huge plugger. That's another thing that I think people just believe, that he wants to have a 340, 350 pound or whatever, 330 plus. He wants guys that are playing the technique correctly. So to me, that's where I'm at. But I think you need to hit that in free agency.
Law, you need to take the glasses off or you get doxxed, man. I can see everything.
Nah, it's all good.
I can see everything you got going on over there, man.
Oh yeah, it's all good.
Okay. I'm making sure you know. I'm making sure you know we know.
Oh yeah, trust me. But at the end of the day, with Deion Walker, yeah, like you said, he do play a little bit too high. And if you're leaning on a rookie to be able to do those things, that's not going to be able to work for you. I think that one of the impediments of the Cowboys been the fact that we don't go into getting a known commodity that can fit those things to make things happen. I'm old enough to remember that even with the 49ers, they went and got a Javon Hargrave, right? Even when they had a young Javon Kinlaw, right? And Javon Hargraves was a guy that immediately brought impact for that particular team. If the Cowboys want to make some crazy moves this year in the regular season and the postseason, they must, M-U-S-T, not don't put the Y on there, but they must go out there and dance around in this free agency. If not, they'll do the same thing.
It's funny because when I think of defensive tackle, I agree with you guys on the drafting one is fine, but you can't count on them year one. And in Mozzie's case, it's we're going into year three. Like you got to give something now. And I also say with Mozzie that if you looked at the entire roster, and I'll even give you after free agency, we can circle back after the draft and everything, you will not find a player on the Cowboys roster that if you had to pick one that you were like, if this one player looks great in training camp, will bring the most excitement than Mozzie Smith. That's the one. I don't care how good Dak looks, CD, anybody else on the team, Guyton, it doesn't matter. If you could tell me right now, Mozzie's going to look like a first-round pick out in Oxnard, that would be the one player that would get people more excited than anything because, one, you used a first-round pick on him, and I think a lot of people think this is going to be a Taco, Tristan Hill situation. And then, two, just because it's been so long since they've had a game wrecker in the middle. So maybe this will be the year. It's year three. It should be time to start rolling here, but that's going to be very telling, too, by how they attack defensive tackle in the offseason about what they think Mozzie can be.
Yeah, there's been instances like Dexter Lawrence didn't really hit his stride till year three. But Mozzie right now just hasn't shown the consistency, and I love Mozzie coming out. All right, Jay Fuller asks, I'm hearing Walter Nolan. Y'all hearing that too? So Daniel Jeremiah put out a mock draft that had the Cowboys taking Ole Miss D tackle Walter Nolan.
Come on, man.
And here's the fun AOC, and I do all the draft stuff, but I just want to get y'all's raw thoughts about it. He had us passing on Genty and McMillan.
Bro, I will punch my camera out right now. I will punch my camera. That's just, bro, no way the Cowboys do that. No way in hell, hockey sticks, whatever you want to call it, man. No way, brother. No way. That's just somebody that's having fun with a mock draft machine like the rest of us, brother. That's it. No way.
Every year around this time, we do 2 or 3 of these mock drafts with The Athletic where each writer picks for the team. And we just did ours today. And Let's just say I'm not going to give it all away. It comes out tomorrow, but
Yeah.
I was faced with that pick, and I'm going to tell you this right now. There's no way I'm seeing that dude over Ashton Jennings.
No way.
No,
I think I did you got anything else, ALC?
No way. That's what I got. No.
Law.
Nope, you're muted.
Law.
No.
We got to read his lips.
I know my Mississippi boys, but no way I'll go with a Walter Nolan at this point, especially from an interior threat. I think that the Cowboys should, operative word, go get a skill-setted player. If they go get a Walter Nolan, man, it's going to take some growing pains, and he's not going to be ready for week 1, 2, 3, or nor year 1. I think no way.
Also, the flip side between defensive tackle and a running back like Genty, you want to talk about the two opposite ends for contributing year 1. Like, there's no position that you have a better chance of contributing immediately than running back, and defensive tackle is probably the toughest to contribute and make a big impact year 1.
It's the hardest just because of the grown man's strength in the trenches. It's not even. And then again, I'm at the Senior Bowl. We're sitting up there, we're watching players, John, and it's like we're looking like, man.
Somebody said John looked like Johnny Knoxville.
You know what I mean?
So I used to always fuck my hair like that, and people used to say, "Oh, God."
Did they?
That's funny.
I didn't.
They got me crying, man.
Hold on. I can't stay focused.
Dang, I can't unsee it. I'm gonna just keep daring John to do stuff throughout the show now.
You know what, John should make that his avatar on Twitter. Every okay, so we're all out on Walter.
No, sir, absolutely not.
I think the thing was
that's the riot pick right there. Hey, we riot on that, brother.
It could be way worse. It could be way worse.
Hey.
I'm gonna tell you.
O-line, you're right. O-line, I would riot for O-line. You're right, John.
Here's the problem with going D tackle, and it's not Mason Graham, somebody that flashes, right? If it's a project, you're at 12. Dallas has been picking at 20, 24, back half of the draft, moving back 19, 18. You're at 12. So where you are is literally the last of the first round grades, according to all the scouts and media scouts and people who've been doing this for however long, whatever they tell you. If there's only 15 first round grades, John Machota, you're at 12. You can't get a guy who you have to project or you have to, he needs to clean up.
For real.
You can't. Listen, I need you to go. We got to go now. What can you do now, right now?
What flavor Gatorade you need? You going to need it. Damn it.
Hey, see, I'm running. People say, Ashton Jennings got Trey, and he going to have more.
He going to have more. We only need it for 4 years. We only need it for 4 years, bro.
Well, I think people, let's just get into it, because people are looking at Ashton Jennings in the whole usage thing completely wrong. And this is where I make my standing case ovation. I want to stand ovation for Ashton Jennings. The problem is this. You look at these guys, Travion Henderson, who at this point is flying up boards because of the explosiveness. People have to remember, Ohio State brought in Quinshon Judkins because Henderson couldn't stay healthy. Mm-hmm. That's a known fact. And Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, those guys say, you know what? If we can get this guy, bring him in, give him a bunch of money, and we run a two-back system, that's why his yards, he didn't have 1,000 yards. He had like 800 yards. That's why. Caleb Johnson has had injury history. I like Omarion Hampton, but it's not debatable. People, every draft cycle, there's, we talked about it in the first show. We'll talk about it in every draft cycle. We're going to find somebody's like, oh man, it's a conversation. No, it's not. Right. It's not a conversation. I love Omarion Hampton. It's not close. If your eyes are telling you that Omarion Hampton is even in the same atmosphere as Ashton Jennings, then you don't need to be doing this draft stuff. And I'm somebody who, again, I was big on Jahmyr Gibbs being a better player than Bijan Robinson. And right now it's still debatable, but most people say Gibbs. I don't see that with Jennings. Jennings is the clear one, and it's okay. You get what I'm saying? So that's why I'm at with it. What is going on?
What's going on, man?
Man, the chat out of control, man.
Just get
my
wild.
God.
Read them all. Who cares?
I'm sitting here just looking for questions, and I just keep seeing people getting roasted, man. And
Oh my God.
now I'm D'Lo Brown, but I want to go back to.
Let's go to D'Lo Brown.
I want to go back to when we were talking about the assistant coach, because we glossed over something. I felt like, John, and you let me know because you were there. It felt like all the assistant coaches had a unified message. It almost sounded like it was a very clear directive from Brian Schottenheimer as far as what he wanted out of his coaches, because everyone kind of had the same message of, a hard-nosed a style of play, that grittiness, guys with a high motor, and that have that drive. Did you get that sense that everybody was kind of on the same accord?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there was multiple coaches that, you can just tell, like, you do this long enough, you can tell which angle, like, people are writing their stories on just by the questions they're asking the same different coach. But no, there was definitely several different questions about, why did you pick Schottenheimer, or why would you join his staff, and you haven't worked with him before and stuff. And like everything you just said, they pointed that out about how, that he had that very defined vision. And then the other part was just like how passionate and energetic he's been, which makes sense. I mean, you've been an assistant for 25 years. He's still a relatively young guy. You finally get this opportunity, which, let's be honest, you thought you were going to get it at some point. Your dad's Marty Schottenheimer. You probably thought you'd be a head coach somewhere. And so I think he has a detailed plan, which would make sense. I mean, he's probably been putting this thing together for a while. So no, there was, you could definitely tell, especially with the offensive coaches for sure, that it was a pretty defined. They kind of knew that's why they wanted to be part of the staff, is because of that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Here goes a question. AOC, what is your wave treatment?
Man, say
use sporting waves.
Whatever law use on his beard to make that bug as luxurious as it is what I use on my waves, man.
For the fans, man. That's a good one. Okay,
you don't want to know what I use.
Here we go. We're gonna lose all the sponsors we trying to get.
What you trying to say, man?
All right, here goes a good one. I just saw it. I don't. Somebody said, should we draft corner?
Yes.
Okay. How high, guys?
So high. But
Law, you start off.
Yeah, you got this.
It got to be a situation whereas even with Will Johnson fall to the 12th spot, you got to consider that. But I would say it's got to be a pick whereas you still do BPA. I'm going no less than a third round draft pick if possible, because think about it. Planners are on the DB right now. Josh Butler, he's coming off of an ACL. Troy Pride, we don't know who he is. Trayvon Diggs not there. And I'm going to be real with y'all. Carson's, it looked like he don't want to tackle nobody. When I looked at tape. What's your thoughts on that, AOC? Because it looked like Carson, I'm still mad at him after
I'm not even counting Carson's law.
Not even counting him.
I'm not even counting them, brother. I'm not counting them.
And lo and behold, we shouldn't have Booth on this team, right?
And we shouldn't be counting dudes honestly, we shouldn't be depending on dudes as 5th, 6th, 7th round picks anyways to be valuable pieces of a roster. Like John has been making this point over and over again. You can look at the Super Bowl every year. You're not going to see a team that has a bad roster. They have some of the most talented guys in the league playing the most vital position. And that's what you need. And the corner is going to be one of the most prominent positions the Cowboys need, especially when you're looking at Commanders are 100% upgrading the wide receiver room this offseason. They're 100% giving Jaden Daniels another weapon to grow with. The Eagles, you still got to deal with those guys over there. The Giants are probably going to get a quarterback that can throw to some of those weapons they have. Maybe. Right? Whether it be an older guy or a younger guy. So you're going to need a corner that's going to be able to stay close to guys and not be out there breakdancing or grabbing at air. And Andrew Booth, Kalen Carson, both of y'all doing the kid and play in the club because y'all out there dancing, bro. Straight up.
Yeah. And AOC, I love your point because Malik Neighbors, he's going to get better, right? And then they're going to draft another dynamic wide receiver there. On top of that, Scary Terry, he's going to be scary. They're going to add more weapons to him. And then you still got to deal with AJ as well as Smitty. So you need DBs. And, hey, picking the wrong linebacker, maybe 10, 15 yards. But picking the wrong DB, that's 30.
House.
Or the house.
House. That's 50 points in the playoffs against the Packers.
Come on with it.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm fine with a corner, but the only way I would take a corner in the first round is if, like, you get completely wiped out. Like, he's gone, those guys. And I don't even think I'd take him at 12. I would have to move back a few spots and get something else for it, and then I take a corner there. But I'm not just sitting there at 12 taking a corner. Like I need to get more for that investment. I mean, maybe you know what?
I agree.
I will say this though. A lot changes between now and when the draft comes in terms of just like stuff that happens at the combine, interviews, way guys work out and stuff like that. I guess I'd be foolish to say that without knowing for sure if somebody rises up or there's somebody they're just like, I mean, just from you guys being at the Senior Bowl, the kid from Marshall, the DN,
Mike Green.
Oh my God! Like,
can I give you my thoughts on him, John?
Before the Senior Bowl, he was like a guy that you were like, oh yeah, he's probably like late first, something like that. Now it's like, some people got him going in the top 10.
Can I give you my thoughts on that, John?
Yeah.
Seeing it live, I think that a lot of people are gonna make that mistake of highlight watching and being wowed versus watching play in and play out. And I say that because Jalen Walker has been a hot topic in our community, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not even close that I would take Jalen Walker over Mike Green. It's not even close. But because what happens is the last thing that you see, you fall in love with, right? You saw him, have that big play on Josh Connerly, Oregon tackle. And it's like, wow, look, he just ran through his face. He can do it. And it's like when you watch Team, John, he couldn't stop the run, okay? He was getting washed. They were, reach blocking him and stuff like that. And like, hey, man, that matters. You don't just line up and rush the passer every game, all game. All game. And I like Mike Green. There's no way I'm drafting him at 12.
From what I've heard, he probably doesn't have like maybe all the measurable, like the height, long arms that a lot of people look for. And that's one of those things that is kind of gets overrated at the combine. So I'm interested to hear how it ends up being after the combine when guys go through all those things, got the official measurements and everything like that. I wonder if he gets kind of dinged for that because I don't know. That's some of the stuff I heard going into the Senior Bowl is that like he doesn't have that ideal, some of the things that basically would keep him from being a guy that was probably should be at Alabama as opposed to Marshall, in the recruiting process.
But you know what it is? You know what it is? It is the Scatterboo effect. You play this one big game and then all of a sudden it boosts your stocks up. And then you get a few people to talk about your name and they looking at your band, like you said, the highlight watching. But how is he against shedding? How is he against stopping the run? Can plan contain? Can he do the small other things to keep you in the game? And when you look at Mike Green and you look at Jalen Walker, like you said, I'm running to get Jalen Walker. I'm walking to get Mike Green.
Yeah, this is my thing too with it, Law. I'm so when I remember that I said this, guys, when Jalen Walker leaves the combine, it won't be a question that he'll be a top 10 pick or in that range, because when you see him move versus other DNs, you say, oh, nah, he moves like 11. He moves like Micah. His change of direction, his 3-cone shuttle. And you get him with the right defensive coordinator, they figure out what to do with him. But, Marshall going up against West Virginia versus Georgia going up against Alabama, and you doing it against Texas, and you doing it against Kelvin Banks, and you doing it against LSU. It's just it's different. It's different. And so
it goes back to your theory. What division do Omarion play in? Hampton?
In the ACC.
ACC. So with that being said, if you pick Genty and you put him over there, there will still be the same conversations, right? People say, he's doing it against ACC. So what I'm getting at basically is that, look, guys, let's not fall into the traps of the school, but look at the production overall, not looking at the highlights. Can he stop the run? Can he shut that down? And can he get production against quality and premium opponents? Those are all things you have to quantify.
Yeah, somebody's going to – the sack numbers with Mike Green, somebody's going to draft him, like you said, Law, in the top, whatever. But this is how teams fell out of love with Jared Verse, and this is why Jared Verse was the defensive player of the Rookie of the Year. It's because they didn't pay attention to Jared Verse doesn't have to come off the field. Some of these defensive ends coming to the league, I mean, you saw when we saw Sam Williams, I'll never forget Dan Quinn going down there working him out. Look how fast he looks like Micah, right? Look, guys, look. Sam couldn't stay on the field because he couldn't do the basic things right. You get what I'm saying? And so with Verse, it was like, man, he could play the run, he can get upfield, he was gapping, he stayed in his gaps. All those things are very important. So, we'll see. But Yeah, he definitely has. He definitely has flown up boards, John. You're right.
I think in a 3-4, Sam Williams would have been a day one starter. But by us playing the 4-3 or 4-2-5 or what have you, that's why he couldn't get on that field because you had so much production from a D-Law and Micah and all of those boys and Fowler, right? So I think that Sam Williams this season may be a good season for him and Marshawn Nealon. And if Eberflus is crafty enough, he convinced Parsons to be back at linebacker. But he said that he's an edge rusher. We'll see how they all play out.
All right, let's get to a few supers, guys. So we got one super. Osa, I love you. We ain't got the money, though. Thank you, Brandy. Brandy's been locked in with us. Big ups, DC for life. Thank you, Jay Versick. Much love to you, brother. Maximil. Maybe you could take this one, Law or John. I don't know how far in deep, anybody deeper in when it comes to their draft coverage, but G.R. Campbell, 44, Jack Best I guess he went Jack Best at 76, Jordan Burch, G.R. at 12. Not a chance I'm taking an off-ball linebacker.
He been banging on the table. He been on my channel. And shout out to you, Max. I think that Jahad Campbell, his second cousin, third remove or something.
Gotta be, bro.
Gotta be.
Hey, Law is sick with it. So his last, so Max's last name is Campbell. Law, that's what you're saying.
His last name is Campbell. But to be fair to Jahad Campbell, I think that he's a more complete linebacker than a Walker, right? When you look at his evaluation of his tape, what's your thoughts on that, Foots? Because if it's in a second, I wouldn't be mad at all if the Cowboys get a Jahad Campbell.
Yeah, I'm going full AOC mode. I might walk away. You is not drafting no off. Hey, Max, don't even come to my channel with it because I need all the subscribers and love, but we ain't talking about no off-ball linebacker.
Come on, man.
At 12.
Come on, man.
No, at 12. No.
That's what he had it at. He said he had it at 12. He had it at 12.
1, 2, 12.
He said 12. Jahad Campbell, 44. Jack Beck.
Hey, John,
He been on that demon.
Hey, Max, thank you for the super chat. We love you, brother. We love you. Yeah. Listen,
I'll get him in a second.
If you can't touch the football repeatedly and score points for this team or sack the quarterback repeatedly, Jihad, you get those guys in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. You develop. We got Maris Lewis out. He did fine. You develop him, he'll be fine. Overshown was a 3rd round pick. He's gonna be fine, healthy. You're not getting. If you want an off-ball linebacker, go sign Dre Greenlaw on a prove-it deal for $6 million.
Hell yeah!
At the end of the day, there is no way the Cowboys are drafting an off-ball linebacker at 12. No,
they did though. They did though 4 years ago.
Now stop, man. Stop, John. Stop.
I'm just. I hate everybody acting like that. They to be this pass rusher when they did it. I vividly remember this because this was during the COVID year. Yeah, because I remember we had to wear these masks. I remember talking to Jerry in this walk-off after that first round ended, and Jerry kind of mentioning at the very end when we were about to walk away, he goes, well, but I mean, we think he's got some pass rush too. I'm like, we just got done with an entire press conference, another 10, 15 minutes of a walk-off, and he added at the end when I specifically asked him about it. So it was, that was going to be part of it. So I've always believed that they thought he could be like 6-7 sack guy with being off the ball linebacker with it. But then he ended up being just such a monster. They were like, we would be idiots to put him anywhere but there. And to be honest with you, do you think that he really changed that much? Like, why wasn't he doing that at Penn State? Because if he's just rushing off the edge at Penn State, opposite like Jason Owe, there's no chance that guy goes outside the top 5. Like, it is amazing that like.
Well, he didn't play the year before, remember? So
no, he did. But I'm saying the year before that, like when he was an off-ball linebacker there. Now again, they did see some pass rush, so I will give him that. So yes, they will not take a traditional off-the-ball linebacker at 12. I will say that. No, hey, real quick, you did skip over. There was that one question about the safety that someone had.
Oh yeah, I want to. Yeah,
I just want to throw in real quick because that was asked that Eberflus was pretty high about the safeties actually today.
I was about to add to that. Go ahead, John.
I was kind of surprised because we had this assignment last week where it's like, again, this is in the offseason, we do like every writer does for the team that they cover, and it was who could potentially be a cap casualty for the Cowboys. And I'm looking at the roster, and I'm just like, there's not really any obvious ones. Some people will say Terrence Steele, but I just don't see that being the case because
Damone Clark.
they wouldn't save anything major. But see, that's the thing you battle with is how much money will you save? Damone Clark really doesn't make much. And so I actually looked at the safety position because I was like, well, Donovan Wilson's 30, or he might, actually, yeah, he just turned 30, I think maybe the last few days. And then Malik Hooker is 29. So I'm like, well, I think with one of them, I think it was with Donovan Wilson is the one I picked because you've saved like $5 or $6 million against the cap. But I just don't think that either one of them plays at a level that they'd want to get rid of them for that price. I think that the Cowboys still like those guys. Now, maybe Eberflus was lying today, and maybe we'll see that whatever, but it does seem like that they at least have an initial plan to maybe continue doing and keeping the safeties that they have right now. So
I have thoughts.
Well, hey,
Thoughts because I saw that question.
With your thoughts, let me ask you this. How mad would you be if they took a safety at 12?
Ooh. Oh, there's no way you're doing that. And
it better be Starks.
Yeah. There's no way. Well, it could be Malachi Starks, but they better not do that. I was just looking at everything concerning the safeties and stuff, like different guys that might get cut and upcoming free agents. Cause I saw someone ask that question, and looking at the upcoming free agents, man, you might be better off just sticking with Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker. Because outside of some of the younger guys like a Trevon Moehrig, who's going to get a bigger contract, Talanoa Hufanga is a name maybe you can look out for. But outside of that, bro, you're not really looking at anybody that's giving you that much of an upgrade over what you have with Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker. I mean, even with Trevon Moehrig, yes, he had a better season than our safeties had, but it's not by much. It's not by much, and I think a lot of that does have to do with what the guys were being asked to do last season as well. So, and I've been telling y'all, Malik Hooker has already played for Matt Eberflus. I've been telling y'all. So that's part of it.
Great note.
What round did Brian Branch went? With
first round. You remember?
No,
hold on.
Brian Branch?
First round.
No, it was second round.
Didn't they have they traded up for Gibbs, and I think let me look that up.
No, then they took Jack Campbell with their other first-round pick. No, Branch was definitely not first round.
Okay, he was
Branch was one of those guys that it was like
John's the Lions guy.
Yeah, when you look at the bottom, I'll always remember Brian Branch and Amon St. Brown because the reason why I say it is because they were the ones on the bottom of the screen. If you're watching the draft on ESPN, where it just seems like for hours it doesn't change. Where it says number 1 best available player. You know, you're in the second round and there's these first-round grades. Branch was like that. Amon Brown was like that too. So I always laugh when people are like, yeah, look, they found these diamonds in the rough. I'm like, literally Mel Kiper was yelling for 3 hours that this is the best player available. Like, but the reason I said the thing about the safety at 12 is because that is unquestionably the biggest surprise for me at 12 would be a safety. And I say that because as Will McClay's time running the Cowboys, or the personnel side at least, safety and defensive tackle have been the 2 spots that they have just not invested heavily in. So I just cannot see a world where they would swing so far to where they're like, no, we value safety now, where we would take one at 12. I just can't see that happening. That's the position that would surprise me most, obviously outside of like kicker, punter, whatever.
I think Brian Branch had like 6 or 7 interceptions last season. He would do wonders. So like that type of safety here would do wonders here, especially with the kind of caliber avoidance of safety play that we had here in the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy, Andrew McCuba, that I would probably take in a second. Yeah. But if I wanted to
Texas.
If I wanted to frame this draft, it would literally be offense, defense, offense, defense, offense, defense. Like it would go back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. But that
you don't want to go. You don't want to go running back, wide receiver, 1-2.
You know,
I'm about to say I'm hitting the Mike Tyson punch out cheat code. I'm bang bang. Give me that, Mike. Give me both of them, boy. Hey,
that'd probably be the logical and the safest route to go with, though. Basically,
I would, John. But here's the thing: if I know that so the problem is if the board falls a certain way, I may have some of these safeties, or like I have Andrew McCuba very high on my board. Like he's maybe like the 40th ranked player on my board, and if I'm staying true. Some of these receivers, like let's say we go Genty first. I love the first round options, but the second round options, I may already have that on my team. And unfortunately, that's just what it is if you don't go maybe Tech first and you go running back second. It's just that's how it plays. And if I got a chance to upgrade, the back end, maybe you do keep we just talk what's the safety you just brought up? That was playing with Indy.
Malik Hooker.
So maybe we keep Hooker and then you upgrade Wilson with Makuba, and now you feel better about your back end, and then you get a third round receiver, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, Jack Besh somehow falls. Now we're better versus like.
Yeah, because Hooker's a liability in coverage, man. Hooker's a liability in coverage, man. The dude has no range, man. He has no range, man. He's a thumper. He's great when he's coming downhill. If he's filling his lane properly, he is. But man, he is a liability in coverage.
You like Donovan Wilson in coverage?
I mean, that's what I meant to say. Donovan Wilson. He's a liability in coverage.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hooker been missed aside on a lot of plays too.
But Dono, he only be near the receiver. Bro. Yeah, he's way better than Dono.
I can live with Hooker next year. Dono, it was time this year I didn't want to see Donovan Wilson on the field. And I love Donovan Wilson, but it was bad.
I mean, he was playing with bad leverage on obvious routes and stuff. Like, bro, why are you like, come on, man. Come on, man.
Is now Marquise Bell a damaged good now? Is he a tradable piece? Because he disappeared last season.
He's a free agent.
Okay, so
I don't know. Like this is my theory.
I think he's either RFA or UFA, but he's a free agent.
Okay, guys, here we go. Let's talk about this. This is my theory with some of these guys. I like Bell. I like what's our guy from South Carolina? Kwamu.
44, yeah.
Israel.
So, but my theory is YA. But if you are so good, why wouldn't the Cowboys play you? Like I just don't I love YA. YA, he's on Twitter. He's Mr. Talk. Cool. But why can't you get on the field? I really want to know.
Foot's going heel this offseason.
Well, you know,
all thoughts are just property of Foot's the king.
Well, you know, YA, he got on me because I dropped a clip and he was like, well, actually, this was covered. And I want to say, well, YA, I mean, to be fair, bro, you weren't in the game, but I'm not gonna say that. I'm just gonna say you in the meeting room, you talking cool, whatever. Players, this is my problem with this generation. Y'all on Twitter more than y'all actually putting work in. Like, why do you care what I think so much, bro? Like,
no, real talk, bro.
Like,
don't get me started. Y'all know I will go on a rant on this mug. Hey, I will have the whole chat turn heel.
I saw the beginning of that entire thing, and I'll remember it, and because I'm a guy that I used to be on Twitter a lot more than I am now. I've tried for my own mental health to stay away a little bit. But I saw the very beginning stages of that with players. I will always remember it. And it was when the Cowboys' top receivers were Dez, Terrence Williams, and Cole Beasley. There's that 10 minutes between us standing outside the locker room. Like, so we stand out there, they walk in off the field, and then it's like a 10, 15-minute cool down period. And then that's when the doors open, you can go and lock. And those dudes knew what was being tweeted by everything. And it kind of sucked for us because you got to also remember at that time, there still isn't a big understanding of like, just because this tweet took off from this person doesn't mean that they're a media member. It caught on because it might have been funny. Something said, man, some of these guys would be getting mad at us. Like they thought it was coming from the media. Like you guys said this or whatever. It's like, no, that's so-and-so. Like we don't know who that person is. They've never been, we don't know who that is, but they would know right away. Like exactly right after games, like every tweet, everything like that. And I was like, oh wow, well this isn't going away. It's only going to get more so. And obviously, yeah, it has. So I don't think that's going away. And it's tough for me to be critical of the guys about that though. And the only reason I say that is because, man, you could build a big brand on social media and doing videos and stuff like that where you end up having a longer career doing that than you did even playing the sport. So if you're good at it, obviously, you know. So that's the whole reason why I try not to be too critical of like the next generation for being that way because that is the future and there could be a lot of money made in it if you're good at, you know, dissecting things like that.
Here's my thing, John, right? Like, I think we're all pro Cowboy on this channel. There's no way. We're very critical. My problem with it is this, and I said this when YA, me and him were going back and forth. It's like, bro, y'all worry too much about what we say. I'm on Twitter. You have never met me, may not ever meet me. Y'all gotta lock in. Like, if you can't, like, there, regardless of what I say, the play wasn't made or the play was made. Regardless of what AOC says, that's his job. His job is to be critical. Your job, you get paid $1 million. AOC don't get paid $1 million. Why does his opinion matter that much that you got to go prove him wrong? Because you're not going to. And you definitely ain't gonna prove me wrong because I don't care that much. See, a lot of times this is what media members do, and you don't do this, John, which I appreciate. You put the tweet up and you're not going back and forth trying to be their friends and all this. The problem is this: I'm not trying to be. I like the Cowboys. I don't like the Dallas Wanyes, the Dallas Micahs. I'm a fan of this team, the brand. This is what I was born into. At the end of the day, I'm gonna die liking that team. I don't wear jerseys for that reason. I don't own a jersey. I don't wear nobody's jersey. Nobody on my back.
I have to add this just because you're going down this road. That has never been more clear to me than these last 2 years when, I don't know, it could be after a bad loss or whatever, when CD has said, well, nobody cares more about winning than we do when he was asked about and the way fans would respond to that comment, like,
man,
no.
Because like, you're a damn lie, CD.
Oh my God. Like, people, and honestly, it's hard for me to like argue with the fans about that because if you're somebody that's like 40 years old and you haven't seen like them make it to the Super Bowl in 29 years, well, there's nobody that's been playing on the team for 40 years, you know? So I can see where it's your everyday life and you've lived and everything has been about the Dallas Cowboys. And when they're playing bad, you are going to be pissed off because it does mean a lot to you. Now, yeah, you're not playing on the field. That doesn't mean that it isn't your life. I mean, people are obsessed with the team. Also, if you're going to point out Wanye for that and you feel that way about Wanye, what do you think about Kevin Durant?
Hey,
Wanye with $1 million. Kevin Durant, I can't even believe he even has social media. He's so far beyond. Like, Kevin, why would you ever talk to any of us? Like, you're so far on another level.
I'm gonna tell you a KD story because he's from my area. The one thing about people from the DMV, and John, I don't know if you've been up and down the East Coast. KD is one thing about it. KD, I've seen him at tournaments. He brings the same energy.
Yeah, he's
fan, like he's the same. And he's actually so good. Like, there's no knock on Wanye, but Wanye, KD, it's a little different. Like, KD is really that. Wanye is really good too. And this isn't just about Wanye, it's about all the players.
Wanye is an all-pro waiting to happen, Foots. You better leave Wanye Thomas alone on this dang on podcast.
I know this gonna get somebody gonna chop this up and send it to him. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, we wouldn't be good at what we do, John, if we weren't objective.
Not for real, though.
It was
Seriously.
something small. It was just like, but see, I'm going to tell you, it was funny. John, do you remember this? When CD and Cole Beasley got into it. That was hilarious. Remember when it was about the route running or this drill doesn't translate? And it was like, now you see when somebody gives an opinion, CD didn't want that opinion. He was like, nah, this is my training. This works. And it was like, this is interesting. Dez and certain players, Dez and Micah have had their spouse.
Yep.
Hey, Dez, why would you say that? Oh, but
Micah one of the main people that need to get off Twitter, man. Since we keep it in a buck on this, since we all just talking about how we feel, Micah need to get off. He need one of the main people need to stop looking at narratives, man. He need to let it go. Turn ESPN off. Turn FS1 off. Get off of Twitter. Lock in. Go to chat. Do whatever you need to do. Get off socials, man. Stop, bro. Stop. That man, boy.
I think he loves it though, and I do think that will be his career after football. Is that he will?
He's already making his career now. Yeah. It's his priority now.
Yeah,
it's his priority now.
Yeah.
Would you think that? But do you think that you would care that much though? If let's say that they had been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years?
No.
Okay.
We wouldn't care.
Yeah,
no, we wouldn't. It's like it's one of those things. It's like, man, you got to eat what you kill. Like, you haven't killed that gazelle yet, Micah. You over here eating on good air and oxygen right now. There's no gazelle for none of us to feast on right now, man. And what we're not gonna do is watch you feast off of our starving bodies. That's what we not.
I'll tell you. You know what, John? You know where things turn for me with this team and the mental toughness. All of them was the Green Bay game. They just look like a soft team.
Yeah, the goodwill was gone. It was done. It was done.
Like all that. All that. I'm with AOC, and it ain't to Micah, it ain't to Wanye, it ain't to CD, it ain't to Dak. It's to all of y'all. Y'all are a team.
Yeah, all of them.
And all of y'all went out there and looked flabbergasted. You look mentally soft.
I'm blaming Mike, though. I'm giving him the pass. I'm blaming Big Mike. I'm sorry. I'm doing it. Man. I'm doing it. Mike didn't care, and they can't care.
I can't go 100% on anything in sports, and that's why there are so many debate shows, because there is almost nothing when you talk about sports that's 100% one way or the other. But I mean, if you're going percentages, nobody has a higher percentage of blame than Mike McCarthy for that Green Bay loss.
100%.
Right.
When the whole team looks that bad,
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough to just go, oh well, they didn't have enough leadership or whatever. Like whether it's fair or not, he's got to wear the bulk of that. And then the other biggest part is, I guess you would say, would be Jerry because he's the owner and general manager. But nobody has a bigger percentage in that loss to me than Mike.
That's fair, John. That's fair. All right, let's end with this one, guys. This was a great show. That hour flew by. Right. Good God. Yeah, okay, Ice Cold Cowboy. What's the biggest need we need right now? Everybody.
A GM. No, I'm just.
Oh my God. I think you got to run the ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Biggest need.
Yeah, you can't talk however all the coaches are talking. I mean, both sides of the ball. I mean, John talked about the offensive side, but even the defensive side of the ball was talking about guys that need to be physical. He wanted to play violent. And, I mean, you want to play a style of football, I feel like running the football is always the way to set the tone for your team. If you're a hard-nosed running team, your entire team is going to walk around with a different type of swagger. They're going to walk around with a different type of confidence because they know they can beat the will out of you any given Sunday. If you're a soft team that has to play like an air raid style of offense, then there is that uncertainty of what happens when it is nut crunching time, when everything ain't clicking the right way. And you have to fall back on that toughness that you haven't practiced all season long. So you got to run the football. I'm with Law. You got to get a running back, and you got to get whatever you need to supplement a run game, period.
John?
Can you imagine if they found a way to money whip Howie Roseman? And not only did Jerry give up being a GM, but Howie Roseman, like how pumped the fan base would be. I mean, they'd be pumped if Jerry just gave up GM, but then they went out and got him on top of it. Like there was some fallout in Philly, kind of like Jimmy and Jerry. And so Howie Roseman left and he was going to go to the highest bidder. And the Cowboys are like, all right, we're never going to go this GM route, but it's been 29 years. We're going to do it. Like how
butt naked people on the streets, John. Butt naked people on the streets.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, it would be that. So when I just saw biggest need, I was like, yeah, that would be the craziest thing that could happen. But on the field, yeah, I know it sounds boring, but it really is. It really does come down to stopping the run and being able to run the football. Because if you can do either of those two things, I think everything else falls into place. Like I do think with Eberflus, some of the guys that got in the back end, Micah, I do think this team's going to go back to what it was with Quinn in terms of the takeaways. I think they'll be fine there, but they got to be able to. They have to stop the run. I'm not saying you have to lead the league. They got to get back to being like a top 10 run defense. Mm-hmm. And then obviously, I keep saying it, but like a guy like Genti to get that run game going and just the trickle down it would have for the rest of that team. Mm-hmm. That to me is very doable. Like I do think there's a really good chance he's going to be there at 12, and then you kind of fix that. The run defense, defensive tackle, that's the one I got to kind of see. I just don't have a lot of I don't have a ton of faith right now. Yeah.
I'll say this, and it's on record. Law, you've been with me for a while. AOC is my good brother, and John, we've been friends for a while. I went on record and said 3 years ago the Cowboys should have took Jahmyr Gibbs or tried to get in play, and obviously the Lions and Brad Holmes, who's another great GM, had a plan. I let people talk me in the offensive line last year, and because I'm okay with being objective, the Cowboys need a running back. Yeah. You look at every level of this offense, you still have a guy on your offensive line. It may not be perfect, but Tyler Smith is a guy.
They were ranked top 10 on PFF. You seen that? The offensive line was ranked top 10 on PFF.
Don't even tell nobody nothing, AOC. They want to just draft linemen just because it's lazy.
They were I was shocked. I was like, whoa.
But bro, if you watch, this is why people say they watch film, and you're watching Rico miss lanes. You're watching Rico run away from defenses.
For real though,
they're literally grading the players. But okay, you have a guy on. Tyler Smith is going to be a Hall of Famer. Just get ready. He is, bro. Real strength. Real. If he stays healthy, he's a Hall of Famer. Okay. Right. You have a guy at receiver. A guy. You may not have a core, but you have a guy in CeeDee Lamb. Top 5 potential at CeeDee Lamb. You have at least a top 7 quarterback. No matter what you think about Dak, he's top 7 when healthy, when things are rolling. Jake Ferguson is top 15 at least. Now, he did fall off. Concussion may have had a lot to do with that. You look at the running back position, bro. Love Rico Dowdle. Again, I don't know if we'll ever interview. I love Rico Dowdle. Great dude. Love his story. He's not good enough. He's just not. If you want to go where you want to go, he's not good enough. it just is what it is. We have to
Yeah.
be blatantly honest. He's not good enough. There's not one team in this league, John, that says we got to stop Rico Dowdle today. They don't.
Can you tell me though how that you got how would you get the Cowboys getting Jahmyr Gibbs though? They were at 26. How are they getting up to 12?
Well, the thing was, John, a lot of people only had Bijan Robinson in that first round. Remember?
Oh, you're talking about not moving. You're saying
not moving if he fell. And then remember, the Lions traded up for Gibbs after Bijan went, because remember that's when the running back are. Remember 2 years ago, John, we were deep in the running backs aren't needed. Now the pendulum is swung and everybody wants a running back again after the free agency class from last year, and then this year's draft. Everybody, you got to run the ball. You need a run game, because what Saquon did. But I always said what Dallas did was just not smart at the running back position last year.
But the reason I'm bringing this up, because he had said, and I don't know if it was a podcast or something else, he had said that the Cowboys had a lot of interest in him.
He did say that.
Yeah, but it's just the fact that I'm just saying there was just
then he pooped on us, by the way. But
well, yeah. But so how good the Cowboys were at that time, I can't see them. At that time, you would not have wanted to move up. You know what I'm saying? Like they were building the roster pretty well. Honestly, if Mozzie's just decent, you're probably not even really hating that they do Mozzie at 26. But just where they were at that time, I don't necessarily hate that. But yeah, if he was there and he fell to them, yeah, that would have made a lot of sense. I mean, I get what you're saying, because they were never going to give Pollard a long-term deal.
Facts. And like, just for me, John, the running back is the biggest need. Now, is it everybody? I've been doing the draft for a long time. Everybody say, you got to have your left tackle. You got to have your corner. You got to have your quarterback. They're going to give you everything. They're going to give you the positional value, the chart, the whole nine. That's fine, John Machota. But to me, I'm looking at a team that doesn't have a difference maker in the backfield. And so your play action stuff, you guys interviewed Clayton Adams. One nugget that he gave, and I tweeted about this, John. I said, we would shotgun run the football, right? But there was no threat of Dak running. So you're doing these runs where you're meshing the ball, but Dak never kept it.
Speaking on that real quick, I know we're about to wrap this up real quick, but I just had a question because I heard Clayton Adams, because we talk about the running game and stuff, so it just made me think about this. Clayton Adams, man, he gave an answer today concerning, like, I guess someone was asking him, like, Dak Prescott in comparison to Kyler Murray. I don't know if you heard that question. And the answer was like something like, I haven't seen enough tape or whatever he said. Like, bro, Dak's been in the league almost 10 years. You know what Dak is as a quarterback. I didn't understand why he couldn't give like any actual attributes that he liked about Dak. And that was kind of weird. That kind of stood out to me.
No, I know what you're saying, but I will say, from being in those things several times over the last 10, 15 years, when those new coaches come in, a lot of them are nervous about possibly saying the wrong thing. Okay. And then that's a headline, and they're just joining the staff, and they don't want to so that one stood out to me. And then there was also a question about, I forgot exactly how it was phrased, but it was along the lines of, have you always been thinking about, hey, one day I want to be the guy calling the plays in that? And the way he made it sound like I've never really thought about them. Like, there's no way you've really never thought about it. But I can also see where he would not want to say that, because he's just like, well, I don't want to put that out there. And then they're thinking that I'm waiting for Brian to kind of hand me over plays or whatever like that. But there's no way you make it to the NFL as an offensive line coach and you're young and you don't be like, man, one day it'd be great if I could call the plays. Heck, one day it'd be great if I'd be the head coach of these teams. So that's the only thing. Like, I just think that going into those interview things sometimes, especially a guy that, there was probably, 30, 40 media members there. I think that their line one is to not say anything that will make a headline. And so if you go in anything like that, you're probably not going to say anything very interesting,
Okay. Yes. So the comparison probably made them get guarded.
With that, though, always from all the coaches I've been around, the assistants like that, the best have been in terms of just giving you a quote and things like that. Dan Quinn was really good from day one, and Joe Witt Jr. Joe Witt Jr. always I always felt like he was just very comfortable in his own skin and would just give you a really thoughtful, deep answer like that. But. Okay. And I think that both those guys are obviously good coaches, but I will just say that I don't know that necessarily correlates to them being a great coach, that they're great with the media,
Okay. That was just interesting to me. I was
I know what you're saying. I remember when he said that.
That whole deal was good, man. It was I liked the interview because I took away that we're not going to run shotgun runs anymore, which is fine for me because I think it also
I just can't believe you
changes
brought up
way.
the Dak one when they ran some of those plays with Rush.
Wait,
You think
bro,
Dak?
we
You
got-
think Dak's not a run threat?
bro, no
Law,
facts.
you
No,
better hit that
absolutely
button, bro.
right,
Law,
John.
hit the wrap it up.
Oh yeah. We gotta go, y'all. Hey, this
Law,
was a
hit
good
the
one.
wrap it up button, Law.
This is definitely a good one, y'all. Thank you guys so much. We want to make sure that we answer y'all questions because me and John was about to go back and forth on that one too. Much love to y'all. We will see y'all again next week. Law, you got any way to get us out of here? What you think?
Well, hey man, I can't wait for the next show, man. Come on with it.
All right, y'all. Much
I'm gonna
love.
be in another room by then.
Peace, y'all.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Yeah.